don't mess with America.
Welcome back. After last week's school shooting in Florida, we are seeing a social uprising unlike any we've seen in recent memory. Students from Parkland down in Florida to D.C. and really all over the country seem to be taking an active role in calling for action on gun violence. But is this kind of movement legit? Leslie Crutchfield is the executive director of the Global Social Enterprise Initiative at Georgetown University's McDonough School of Business. She's also the author of the upcoming book, How Change Happens, Why Some Social Movements Succeed While Others Don't. She's up late with me on the Final Five. Hi, Leslie.
Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good. Glad to have you here tonight, because I think as we see all of this happening right now across the country, I'm curious what your takeaway is as you see these students rally, as you see the marches in D.C., the planned marches coming up. Is this kind of movement, have we seen something on this scale in recent memory?
Not in recent memory, Jim. It's very encouraging to see the outspoken activism of the young people coming out of Parkland, Florida, and part of the hashtag Never Again movement. But this is a different time. You see this generation has grown up with shootings, starting with many of them were born just after the Columbine massacre in 1999. They've lived through Virginia Tech, certainly Sandy Hook. So they've been exposed to a lot of this kind of tragedy. And you also see the advent of social media, the ubiquity of the internet. So you're more organized and more mobilized. So those are two things that are different today.
I would gather that having social media, having Facebook, having Twitter, having this instant response mechanism out there makes it very easy to organize and to build some sort of movement.
It makes it easier, but it must be noted that students who are for gun control and stricter gun regulations have equal access as the gun rights movement do, and they've been very savvy about use of social media. I think the thing that's going to make this movement and this moment different, a moment that will matter, is things that are happening behind the scenes over the last few years that aren't as visible to the general public, but have been happening among gun control groups. For instance, in the wake of the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012, you saw the advent of a new gun control group come on the scene, Everytown for Gun Safety, a merger of Moms Demand Action, founded by Shannon Watts, a mother of four, and the Mayors Against Illegal Gun group that Mayor Bloomberg's a part of. When that group came on the scene, Shannon Watts was looking for a movement to join, and she really couldn't find anything, and that's why she launched that Facebook page. Since then, Everytown has grown to more than 4 million supporters. And the reason why that's so important is because to date, the NRA has just fundamentally dominated in terms of the grassroots. It has nearly 5 million members to its claims. And for the last several decades, the gun control movement has just paled in comparison in terms of the volume and the vociferousness of the grassroots. But it's only been in the last few years that that's really started to shift.
I think as we look at this as a whole, and there's been some controversy the last couple of days where there are people doubting the authenticity behind it. They said there's no way that 17-year-olds can come up with a hashtag and get this going. And I think people at home, we can have the debate over gun control any other time. That's not what we're trying to do on this show. But I think what's worth mentioning is you have this generation that until now seems to be defined by eating Tide Pods. And now they're getting this credit for building this movement. The question is, can they sustain this?
Absolutely. Well, known for eating Tide Pods, playing video games, exposed to all this, but never doubt that young people can have an impact on the trajectory of history. I mean, right now, a lot of us have been watching Ken Burns' new film, The Vietnam War. And if you watch many of those episodes, you'll see the power of student activism and young people who really called for, and their demonstrations brought an end to that war. You saw student activisms in the civil rights movement. Young people are empowered, and the social media networking just makes that more accessible, and they can grow that network at more exponential rates than they could pre-internet.
I feel like you and I could talk about this all night, but we're out of time. But I do, before we go, want to show everybody the book that's coming out, How Change Happens, Why Some Social Movements Succeed While Others Don't. Leslie Crutchfield, the book is coming out in April, correct?
April of this year.
All right. Check it out. It's already up for pre-order online. We're back after this in the Final Five.
I've been quiet for too long. I've been quiet for too long.